Blark and Son is basically your typical odd couple show. Blark is a guy who has been in, Vietnam, the Korean War, has had 1,000 jobs, has the most eclectic life ever, and is really a journeyman, and just so happened to have a son who is an indoor little dumpling who doesn't want to do anything but play video games and be in an air-conditioned room all day. So they're the center focal point of the show, and then a few episodes in, Fletcher Murphy comes, who was a Blark's drill sergeant back in the day, and essentially Son gets two dads that are equally intense, and to foil both Blark and Son, who are this very emotional, visceral relationship with one another, is a very restrained Yale graduate, Stacy P. Swanson, who's their neighbor, who's, very much like a psychologist and writes books and an academic, and this is his adopted son, Junior, who seemingly have a perfect relationship up top, but then you realize that Junior is the weirdest little kid you've ever known, and Stacy hates his job, hates his life, and can't connect with his son. So that's essentially the show. And this is Regina, who's Son's best friend, who ends up becoming his first crush in the coming of age section of the show. So that's pretty much the cast.
Well, this is Zeke, actually, which is Son's best friend, who is an online friend only, who typically in the show, Son only talks to on Skype while he's gaming, and later on in the season that we're creating now, he gets made into a wheeler Zeke, so that he can be on Skype still, but be kind of wheeled around the house and still talk to people. So that's his avatar. This is a good example of something called a hand and rod puppet, and that explains that is that your hand goes up inside the mouth, and that rod controls the arm. This particular rod is at the elbow and controls it through a mechanism that I built there. So Blark, when he talks to you, he kind of talks a lot with his head and a lot of gestures like that, and sometimes uses his tiny little hands, even though some people think they're creepy. And because they're silicone puppets, they have a really kind of unique look to them. You can kind of touch and squeeze the face if you want to. Almost feels real, aside from it being cold.
And it looks so real. I mean, did you have to really study faces and to
Yes.
This down exactly?
Yeah, basically, we had some inspirations of different people that existed for different characters. Like Keith David was kind of an initial inspiration for Fletcher Murphy here.
Yeah. I can
And
see
then
that, yeah.
I drew a rendition of the character and then sculpted him as such, and then make a mold and then cast that mold in silicone as such. So.
And Blark is essentially Ben's grandfather. More, if you saw a picture of him, you would see that he's essentially.
Yeah, people say Mel Gibson and this and that, and I think that it's good that you can see resemblances in him because he's pretty crazy looking and stuff. So with the original Blark and Son, they were just, I did a bunch of drawings, and then the first sculptures we did was just it, because it was just for Instagram, and it was like, we're going to make what we can make, and we didn't know that was going to spin into this bigger, better thing. So it was really just a kind of like...
So you're 1 for 1.
1 for 1, just go.
Actually, he's 8 for 8.
So, 8 for 8. With these guys, we don't have the luxury to have the time or money to sculpt one and cast it and finish a puppet and say, nah. So I did a bunch of designs before.
We were going to throw this away, but this is a test, of Blark, as you can see.
So we'll test the casting just to test the thickness. You can see the thickness in these areas a little too thin. So there's something on the inside of all the puppets' heads called a core, which is the item that takes up space inside the mold that ends up being where your hand goes. And those are things that we had to do multiple tries at, because when you make that core, a lot of it is guesswork to try to estimate how thick the silicone is going to be. So that's why we had 5 Blark heads before we got this one. And then, it starts as just flat tinted silicone like this, although this is very dirty. And then we paint it and do an entire paint job on it that gives it that real kind of looking life to it. Yeah. So Son.
Also pioneered a few things with the core of giving them brow slots. So for Fletch is kind of, or whoever is a good example of, there's 3 slots, there's mouth, and then
you can puppeteer from his mouth right here.
Okay.
But if you want to, you can move your hands up into the brow, and you can get scared or mean looking.
Yeah.
And that kind of really adds some just forgivingness when puppeteering these guys.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that on when people do visual effects for movies, and they press the buttons and they stretch them on the computers to do all the different faces. You can really do that with this.
Oh yeah, and it gets really intense. You
can get really severe that way, or really squished.
But
or like
most of the time, we
chroma.
just keep it nice and normal, so that once in a while, when we have to do something that is that intense, it really like stands out to you.
Our challenge is like we're thinking when we shoot out the window, or we have a lot of scenes that are at the door. When you reverse to whoever's standing on the porch, what's going to be behind them? So we haven't solved that exactly yet.
The entire floor here can be moved and popped up. Every 2 feet pops up into a panel that can be removed, or the floor can be removed entirely, so that we can show as much as we want to of it.
We think we're making something that can live in so many different formats, whether it's like, there's so many like live action kids shows now. What's the version of this that's like again, it's the perfect combination of like classic sitcom and the speed at which you can make a sitcom and cartoons. And so I think, we push things into weird territory that I think you couldn't do with a sitcom.
The way the set is like a sitcom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're hoping this is the first of many. Of these
you
kind
could
of
just
shows.
walk around
ground,
and,
you guys
this
are
is in there.
breaking ground
Yeah,
as far
yeah,
as doing
yeah.
something like this.
Yeah, no one has done
has
anything.
tried to do this. I
Yeah.
mean, there must have been so much planning.
There's a ton of planning, and then a lot like these guys. What's cool about those is that, you can have a small crew. I mean, these guys are doing the writing. I mean, we had an amazing writing team. We have an amazing cast, but so much of the heavy lifting is just these two guys right here that are just writing, directing. Puppeteering. He's puppeteering.
He also plays Blark.
He plays Blark.
So
yeah.
he's
So it's just an unusual format where you can have like this strong vision that these guys have, and they can see it through all the way. And then being at Stoopid Buddy, we got access to amazing. I mean, to get like the voice talent that we have.
Yeah, our cast is so.
Yeah, the cast is amazing. So we think it's going to be just kind of come out of nowhere and just be like this crazy, funny, weird show that hopefully everyone
doesn't look like anything
Yeah,
else.
hopefully everyone just digs it.